First contact. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the U.S. Indomitable, watching the sleek alien vessel approach. The massive human warship, bristling with railguns and missile pods, made the alien craft look like a toy in comparison. Yet Sarah knew appearances could be deceiving in space. "They're hailing us again, Captain," Lieutenant Reyes reported from communications. "The Zithrani representative is quite persistent." Sarah suppressed a sigh. The unified Earth government had been clear. Diplomatic relations with the newly discovered Zithrani collective were fragile but promising. When they'd requested permission to send researchers aboard the Indomitable to study human military technology, High Command had approved over her objections. "Put them through," she ordered, straightening her uniform jacket. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, slender being with iridescent blue-green skin and large, multifaceted eyes. 4 slender arms were folded in what Sarah had learned was a gesture of respect. "Captain Chen." The alien's voice came through the translator with a slight delay. "I am Research Director Zaltek. We appreciate your accommodation of our scholarly endeavor. We are prepared to board at your convenience." Sarah nodded curtly. "My first officer will meet your team at Docking Bay 3. I must remind you that certain areas of this vessel remain classified, and you'll be escorted at all times." "Of course, Captain. We understand security protocols. We are scientists, not spies." Zaltek's translator conveyed a tone that might have been amusement. "We seek only to understand." As the communication ended, Commander Jackson approached the captain's chair. "Security teams are in place, and we've locked down sensitive areas. But I still don't like this, Captain." "Neither do I, Marcus. But orders are orders." She rose from her chair. "The Zithrani supposedly have FTL technology centuries ahead of ours. If playing tour guide gets us access to their propulsion systems, it'll be worth the headache. And if they're gathering intelligence for less scientific purposes." Sarah's expression hardened. "Then they'll learn firsthand why the Indomitable has never lost a battle." First Officer Marcus Jackson led the alien delegation through the corridors of the Indomitable. The 4 Zithrani researchers moved with an unsettling grace. Their bodies seemed to flow rather than walk. Each carried what appeared to be a translucent tablet, occasionally touching symbols that flashed with soft blue light. "This vessel is considerably larger than our preliminary scan suggested," Zaltek observed, head swiveling to take in the reinforced bulkheads. "What is your crew complement, Commander?" 527 personnel, Marcus replied, noting how the aliens exchanged glances. "Is that significant?" "Merely unexpected," another researcher, who had introduced himself as Vexel, replied. "Our vessels of comparable size are typically automated, requiring perhaps 50 operators at most." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "We find that computers make excellent tools but poor decision-makers in combat." "Fascinating," Zaltek murmured. "A philosophical difference, perhaps. We shall document this." They continued their tour, the aliens' interest visibly increasing as they entered the main engineering section. Chief Engineer Rodriguez greeted them with obvious suspicion, her stocky frame positioned protectively in front of her precious engines. "Our propulsion systems are hybrid fusion ion drives," she explained reluctantly after Marcus's encouraging nod. "Nothing you haven't seen before, I'm sure." "On the contrary." Vexel moved closer, multifaceted eyes reflecting the pulsing blue glow of the reactor chamber. "Your approach is unconventional. These systems appear to prioritize reliability over efficiency." Rodriguez bristled. "They'll run at 80% capacity even after taking a direct hit. Can your pretty ships say the same?" Instead of taking offense, the alien seemed delighted by her defensive response. Zaltek made a fluid gesture with his upper arms. "Engineer Rodriguez, your passion for your technology is most informative. We observe that humans form emotional attachments to their machines. Is this typical?" Before Rodriguez could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the ship. Marcus's communicator activated immediately. "Jackson, get our guests to the secured observation lounge." Captain Chen ordered, her voice tense. "We've received a priority distress call from Outpost Theta. Possible hostile contact. We're the closest UEG vessel." "Understood, Captain." He turned to the alien delegation. "I apologize, but this tour is temporarily suspended. Please come with me." "What is happening, Commander?" Zoltek inquired as they hurried through corridors, now filled with crew rushing to battle stations. "A human settlement may be under attack," Marcus explained tersely. "We're responding." "Fascinating," another researcher, Tellus, remarked. "You are redirecting your entire vessel based on a request for assistance, without verification." Marcus gave the alien a hard look. "That's what we do. We protect our own." From the observation lounge, the Zithrani delegation watched with evident curiosity as the Indomitable prepared for potential combat. Through the viewports, they could see the stars blur slightly as the massive engines pushed the warship to its maximum speed. Captain Chen had joined them briefly, explaining that protocol required their presence in the secure area during any combat situation. Her demeanor had been professional but distracted, clearly focused on the mission ahead. "I do not understand," Tellus said quietly to Zoltek when they were alone. "Our preliminary studies suggested humans were individualistic and territorial, yet they divert significant resources to aid distant members of their species with no apparent benefit." "It is puzzling," Zoltek agreed, four-fingered hands moving across his data tablet. "Perhaps it is a form of social display, a demonstration of power." Vexel, who had been silently observing the crew through the lounge's interior window, turned to his colleagues. "I believe we are witnessing something our models fail to predict. Observe the efficiency with which they prepare for conflict. They appear to function as a collective organism despite their individualistic nature." The door slid open, and Lieutenant Rice entered with a tray of containers. "Captain thought you might need refreshments. We'll be at Outpost Theta in approximately 4 hours." "Thank you, Lieutenant," Zoltek acknowledged. "May I inquire, do you know these people you are rushing to assist?" Rice looked confused by the question. "The colonists?" "No, personally, I've never been to Theta." "Yet you risk your life for them," Vexel observed. The lieutenant set down the tray with a slight frown. "They're human. They need help. That's all that matters." She hesitated, then added, "Is that not how your people would respond?" The aliens exchanged glances before Zoltek replied carefully. "The Zithrani would analyze the strategic value of an outpost against the resources required for its defense. It is efficient." "Efficient," Rice repeated, her expression unreadable. "Well, Lieutenant Commander Jackson will check on you shortly. If you need anything else, use the communication panel." After she left, the fourth member of the research team, Nari, spoke for the first time. "I believe we have discovered something significant about humans that wasn't in our briefings." Zoltek nodded slowly. "Indeed. Their response patterns require recalibration of our understanding. They appear to operate on principles beyond mere strategic calculation. Their technology reflects this as well," Vexel added. "Redundant systems, manual overrides, emphasis on crew survival, all prioritized over optimal performance." "The question," Nari continued, manipulating a complex three-dimensional model on her tablet, "is whether this represents evolutionary advantage or disadvantage in a galactic context." Zoltek stared out at the stars streaking past. "We shall likely have our answers soon." The Indomitable dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Theta system, sensors immediately scanning for threats. Captain Chen stood rigidly at the command station, reviewing the incoming data with narrowed eyes. "Multiple unidentified vessels near the colony," Lieutenant Park reported from Tactical. "Energy signatures don't match any known species. They're firing on the outpost's defensive grid." "Life signs on the colony?" Sarah demanded. "Affirmative. Approximately 5,000 colonists. Defense systems are holding for now, but they're taking heavy damage." Sarah's decision took less than a second. "Battle stations. Deploy all fighter squadrons. Weapons, prepare main batteries. Communications inform the attackers that they are engaging a UEG-protected settlement and order them to withdraw immediately. As the crew executed her orders with practiced precision, Sarah was acutely aware of Commander Jackson escorting the Zithrani delegation onto the bridge. She'd authorized their presence as observers, partly as a diplomatic courtesy, partly to show exactly what happened to those who threatened human colonies. "Captain," Zaltik greeted her with a respectful gesture. "We appreciate being permitted to observe your response protocols." "Stay out of the way," she replied curtly, attention already back on the tactical display. "You're about to see why the Indomitable has the highest combat effectiveness rating in the fleet." On the main view screen, the attacking vessels came into view, sleek, predatory craft with unusual organic-looking protrusions. There were 7 of them, each approximately 1/3 the size of the Indomitable but heavily armed. "No response to our communication, Captain," Rise reported. "They changed formation and appear to be moving to engage us." "Their loss," Sarah said grimly. "Weapons free. Show them why you don't attack humans." The massive railguns along the Indomitable's hull roared to life, accelerating projectiles to devastating velocities. Missile pods opened, unleashing swarms of guided warheads. The human fighter squadrons deployed in perfect formation, breaking into attack patterns with practiced precision. From their position at the rear of the bridge, the Zithrani researchers watched in silence, their tablets recording everything. What they witnessed was not the clinical efficiency they had expected, but something altogether more primal and more effective. The human warship didn't just fight. It hunted. Trial by fire. The unknown vessels were more formidable than they appeared. As the battle entered its second hour, the Indomitable had destroyed 3 enemy ships and forced 2 others to retreat, but not without cost. Multiple hull breaches had been sealed, the fighter squadrons had suffered casualties, and the port weapons array was operating at reduced capacity. Captain Chen remained standing despite the bridge's occasional violent shaking from enemy fire. Her uniform was smudged with soot from an electrical fire that had broken out minutes earlier, but her voice remained steady as she issued commands. "Reroute power from secondary systems to forward shields," she ordered. "Engineering, status on the railgun repairs." 20 minutes, Captain," Rodriguez's voice came through with static interference. "We're working as fast as we can." Sarah's eyes never left the tactical display. "Make it 15. Those colonists don't have 20. The 2 remaining enemy vessels had positioned themselves between the Indomitable and the outpost, continuing to fire on both targets. The colony's defenses were failing. Several habitat domes had already lost pressure, forcing emergency evacuations to deeper levels. From their observation position, the Zithrani researchers had remained unnaturally still, only the rapid movement of their fingers across their tablets indicating their intense interest. Now, Zaltik approached Commander Jackson, who was coordinating damage control teams. "Commander, may I make an observation?" the alien asked. Marcus barely spared him a glance. "Unless it helps us save that colony, it can wait." "It may, in fact, help," Zaltik insisted. "We have been analyzing the enemy vessel's attack patterns. They appear to be utilizing a predictable oscillating shield frequency." That got Marcus's attention. "Go on. If you time your weapons fire to match the low point of their shield oscillation cycle, your effectiveness would increase by approximately 73%. Marcus stared at the alien for a moment, then turned to Captain Chen. "Captain, our guests have identified a potential weakness in the enemy shields." Sarah listened intently as Zaltik explained his findings, her expression shifting from skepticism to calculated interest. "Lieutenant Park, can we recalibrate our targeting systems to exploit this pattern?" "Yes, Captain," Park replied after a moment's consideration. "But we'd need to precisely calculate the frequency cycle." "We can assist," Vexel offered, stepping forward with his tablet. "Our analytical algorithms are quite advanced." Sarah hesitated only briefly. "Do it. But if this is some kind of trick." "Captain," Zoltek interrupted with unexpected intensity. We are researchers. Truth is our only allegiance. Within minutes, the Zithrani had integrated their tablets with the Indomitable's targeting systems. As the next volley of railgun fire struck the nearest enemy vessel, the effect was immediate and devastating. The projectiles punched through the temporarily weakened shields and tore into the hull beneath. Direct hit, Park announced, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. Enemy Vessel 1 is crippled. Again, Sarah ordered, a predatory gleam in her eyes. Finish them. The second barrage destroyed the damaged vessel completely. With recalibrated targeting, the Indomitable turned its full firepower on the final enemy ship. For a moment, it attempted to maintain position, then abruptly changed course and accelerated away from the battle. They're retreating, Captain, Park reported. Shall we pursue? Sarah shook her head. Negative. Priority is the colony. Helm, get us to the outpost. Medical, prepare to receive casualties. As the Indomitable approached the damaged colony, the full extent of the destruction became visible. Several of the habitat structures were clearly compromised, emergency force fields barely containing their atmosphere. Debris floated around the main facility, some of it clearly belonging to the colony's defensive satellites. Life support failing in habitats 2 and 4, Rise reported grimly. Estimate 300 colonists trapped. Deploy rescue shuttles immediately, Sarah ordered. Engineering teams to assist with structural stabilization. Medical teams to triage and evacuate the wounded. The bridge was a flurry of activity as these orders were carried out. Through it all, the Zithrani observers remained in their designated area, but their posture had changed. Where before they had been clinically detached, now they leaned forward, watching the human response with new intensity. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of emergency operations. The Indomitable's crew worked tirelessly to evacuate critically injured colonists, repair life support systems, and secure the outpost against any potential return of the hostile force. Captain Chen finally returned to the bridge after personally overseeing the stabilization of Habitat 4. Her uniform was torn and stained, her face etched with fatigue, but she moved with the same purposeful energy as before. Status report, she demanded, accepting a cup of coffee from a junior officer with a nod of thanks. Colony stabilized, Captain, Commander Jackson replied. 93 confirmed casualties, approximately 200 injured. Without our intervention, they would have lost everyone. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, the number clearly weighing on her. And our ship? Repairs ongoing. We lost 17 crew members, 35 injured. Fighter squadron took heavy losses. 8 pilots didn't make it back. The bridge fell silent for a moment, the weight of those losses palpable in the air. Sarah straightened her shoulders. Arrange a memorial service for tomorrow. I want to speak personally with the families when we return to Earth. It was only then that she seemed to notice the Zithrani researchers who had remained on the bridge throughout the crisis. Her expression hardened as she approached them. I trust your research has been educational, Director Zoltek. The alien made a gesture that the translation program interpreted as profound respect. Captain Chen, we came aboard your vessel to study human military technology. We did not expect to participate in its application. Your assistance with the enemy shields likely saved hundreds of lives, she acknowledged. For that, you have my gratitude. May I speak freely, Captain? When she nodded, Zoltek continued. We have been studying your species since first contact 2 years ago. Our preliminary analyses suggested humans were technologically primitive compared to other spacefaring species we have encountered. Sarah's expression remained neutral, though her posture stiffened slightly. We now understand that this assessment was fundamentally flawed, Zoltek continued. Your technology is not primitive. It is purpose-built for conditions we had not considered. Your ship does not just carry weapons. It carries people who improvise, adapt, and overcome challenges our automated systems would find insurmountable. That's what humans do, Sarah replied simply. We survive. More than survive, Vexel interjected, stepping forward. In the face of what our calculations indicated was certain defeat, you not only prevailed but diverted significant resources to save others with no strategic value. Sarah's expression darkened. Those colonists have every value. They're human beings. Precisely, Zoltek said, multifaceted eyes reflecting the bridge lights. What we witnessed was not just technological adaptation, but a manifestation of something our species has long considered inefficient: emotional connection as evolutionary advantage. For the first time since the Zithrani had come aboard, Sarah Chen smiled. Director, with respect to your research, there are aspects of humanity that can't be measured by your instruments or explained by your algorithms. Sometimes, what you consider our greatest weakness is actually our greatest strength. Zoltek made a gesture of acknowledgement. Indeed, Captain. Our report to the collective will reflect this. We came to study a human warship, but we have instead begun to understand humanity itself. And I must confess, yes, Sarah prompted when the alien hesitated. Many of my colleagues believed your species would remain a minor power in the galaxy, limited by your emotional nature and biological inefficiencies. Zoltek's upper limbs moved in what might have been embarrassment. I now believe they are mistaken. The galaxy should perhaps be grateful that humans appear to be as compassionate as you are formidable. Commander Jackson, who had been listening nearby, couldn't suppress a grin. Is that a compliment or a warning, Director? Perhaps both, Commander, Zoltek replied. Perhaps both. 3 days later, with the colony secured and the Indomitable preparing to escort the Zithrani vessel back to the designated diplomatic rendezvous point, Captain Chen found Zoltek in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. Your research team boards your vessel in 1 hour, she informed him. I've authorized the transfer of all non-classified data you collected during your stay. Thank you, Captain. Zoltek turned from the viewport. Our time aboard the Indomitable has been illuminating. I'm curious, Sarah said, moving to stand beside the alien. What will your final report actually say about us? Zoltek was silent for a moment before responding. That humanity's true strength lies not in your technology, but in what drives you to use it. Your ships are extensions of your will, not replacements for it. Your weapons are formidable, but secondary to the minds that wield them. He gestured toward the distant colony, just visible as a cluster of lights against the planet's surface. You fight not because you must, but because you choose to. For your own, for strangers, even, I suspect, for allies who have yet to earn your trust. And is that assessment cause for concern among your people? Sarah asked directly. On the contrary, Zoltek replied. It is cause for hope. The galaxy contains species of great technological advancement, but limited ethical development. Humanity appears to possess a rare balance, the will to fight when necessary, yet the wisdom to recognize when it is not. He turned his multifaceted eyes toward her. My final recommendation will be that the Zithrani Collective pursue the closest possible alliance with Earth, not because we fear you as enemies, but because we would value you as friends. Sarah Chen extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Zoltek extended his upper right limb and carefully clasped it. To understanding between our peoples, Director, she said. Indeed, Captain, the alien replied. Though I must confess one final observation. And what's that? Zoltek's translator conveyed what might have been amusement. We came to study your warship, but I believe it is humanity that has studied us, and I cannot help but wonder which of us learned more. Captain Chen smiled. That, Director, is perhaps the most human observation you've made yet. The end.